Let's talk about another issue that Rachel Reeves is grappling with, and this one is big. This is income tax. Do we need to raise income tax in the autumn budget? 0207 862 22222 is the number. Get your calls coming now. The Telegraph has got this story, and, you know, what is going on here? Because there's floating so many different stories from the budget. This one is now the 2p income tax rise that apparently she is eyeing. And that's happened because the Prime Minister refused to rule out breaking Labour's central manifesto promise, which was not to raise income tax yesterday. So come out with me and we'll have a little look here at Rachel Reeves's issue, because she essentially is being really pressed down on by those 3 letters of tax. I mean, they are weighing her down here. And she can't really just stand up straight as long as she has this ongoing issue of how does she raise the money she needs to raise. Now, they did sort of have a plan A here. So initially, Rachel Reeves was just taking it from small groups, employers with NICs, farmers, private schools, pensioners, although they reversed the winter fuel allowance cut. But the trouble is you annoy small groups of people a lot and you end up, they all gang together and have basically a massive protest. And that's what happened. So it didn't really work. So now she's obviously thinking she could go to plan B. And plan B, instead of annoying small groups a lot, is annoy everyone a little. And that's where we get the front page of the Telegraph. And she looks a bit more hopeful here, doesn't she? She's maybe thinking, wait, if I just put 2p on income tax, for the first time on the basic rate in decades, by the way, you would raise enough and maybe the pain will be spread. So that is the thought that Rachel Reeves is having. Let's remind ourselves of why she is this. £20 billion budget hole. And that's a new addition to what we already knew about. So it's called the Office of Budget Responsibility. They downgraded a forecast for productivity by 0.3%. So this is the story this week, okay? And because of that, a 0.3% cut adds 21 billion to the budget hole. And the changes open up, there we are, an initial gap of some 20 billion. And that means not the 14 billion that we thought originally. And that's really, really horrible for her, because it means, here we are, this was the scene when she came into number 11, according to this brilliant cartoonist, Ben Jennings. Oh my goodness, what a mess. Well, she's still in the mess. And she's got to deal with it somehow, because otherwise the cost of borrowing will go through the roof and we get into Liz Truss territory. So, all right. Tell me about this, Paulette. Have you got something to confess to us here? Have you got a secret plan?
Well, as you know, let me start by saying I'm not in government.
No, but you made a promise. You made a promise.
We made a manifesto promise that there would be no increase in income tax, none in VAT, none in national insurance. But since coming into government, for different reasons, that I believe cannot continue.
Wow.
Because as a Labour MP and someone that absolutely agreed with that manifesto policy, the only thing I would say is we boxed ourselves in a little bit. And what we've now got to do is be honest with people.
Oh, my Lord.
We have got billions of pounds that we are adrift. And if we are going to give ourselves that fiscal headroom, especially after the OBR have said to us that we are looking at a downturn, we are going to have to look at
but
national
I'm addressing
insurance.
you as an MP who won their seat after promising your constituents you wouldn't raise income tax, and now you're thinking about it. What are you going to apologise, or will you resign?
Happy to
surely the government's going to fall over this.
If it's what they do, I am happy to apologise, but I'm not in government.
But why did you make the promise?
Because at the time, if you look at what Labour were doing, they were very conservative. They were very conservative in what they were doing when they went into power. And I genuinely believe them when they said they thought it was bad.
As in them, the Labour Party?
No, as in them, the current leadership who are in government.
Right.
Because I'm not there. They said that when they got into power, what they then found was far worse than what they actually thought.
They always say that.
They may always say that, but it's whether you believe it or not. I happen to believe them because of what I've seen since.
Yeah.
We've had 14 years of austerity and people have struggled. And when we got into power, what we were hoping to do we were not able to do in the entirety.
And there was no growth either. The growth
and there was no growth.
Yeah,
and what
promised
Sir
growth
Keir
as well, by the way.
Starmer has said is we've got to grow the economy.
Okay. Well,
It's
Mike,
been
there
difficult.
we are. It's that in summary, they made a promise. It was a mistake. They're going to have to break it.
Yeah. I'm afraid she has created all her own problems, right? Rachel Reeves is economically illiterate. She hasn't got a clue how to run an economy. And she's now trying to find any old excuse. Oh, it's Brexit, or oh, it's this, or Tory government 14 years, right? She's created the problem because she put up taxes enormously when she first came into power. If you start putting a tax on jobs, those jobs will go. If you put a tax on business, those businesses will close down. You then get a doom loop where if more people are out of work, if businesses are closing down, her revenues are dropping. And as the revenues drop, she's suddenly saying, I'm going to have to shore up this black hole that I've created.
And
when you do that...
Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
The alternative then for her would be to do spending cuts. And the problem with spending cuts is she starts with what she thinks is a small one, which is the winter fuel allowance for pensioners, and it almost brings the government down.
Now, yes, but this is political will. There is no political will in that government to make the economy work in this country. They just want to keep giving away money. The welfare bill in this country is 350 billion quid. She tried to shave it by 5 billion and was then told by her backbenchers, no hope whatsoever. This woman is so unable to control the economy and to control her own job, she ends up crying her eyes out in the House of Commons. I felt sorry for her. Because it showed how hapless she is.
Well, maybe
this job.
it's. I wonder whether
she's going to bankrupt the country.
Keir Starmer is going to keep her in, do this horrible budget, and then he's going to sack her after that.
Oh, I wouldn't know about that. I'm not sat in government.
But he will.
Wouldn't surprise me.
No. You guys are saying what I don't know, so I am not going to sit here and tell you that what Sir Keir Starmer is going to do.
But you did promise not to raise income tax.
What I am saying to you is, as a country, we're in this position now. I so happen to believe, I hear you say haphazardly that Brexit has had nothing to do with it. I think Brexit had a lot to do with it.
8 years ago?
I don't care if it was 8 years ago.
And our economy was growing.
We are in trouble, and a lot of it has got to do with Brexit and the fact that as a country we have isolated ourselves.
But you guys knew
now,
that. All right.
Yeah, we know that.
You knew that.
But now I actually believe that if we are honest with the country, we're in our second year. If we're honest with the country, if Rachel actually comes through with the budget and says what she's going to do, and people take the pain and they don't have to keep taking more pain.
Hang on, Mike. I want to take a call. That's a very interesting thought, Paulette. If Rachel just says, look, we've messed it up. We need to do this.
I didn't tell you that she will say we have messed it up.
Well, all right.
What I said,
honest.
Jeremy, if she's honest and say the direction of travel and not use 1,000 words to say where we need to go. Yeah. No, but we did not mess it up. The country was flat on its face when we got here.
She screwed it up.
Well, OK, but she's not going to say that as, maybe it's that thing, the understatement of the century, last century, was when the Japanese Prime Minister said, the war situation has turned not necessarily to our advantage when they had to surrender. And it's that kind of thing. She needs to tell the truth if she's going to get away with it. Doug in Cornwall, hello.
Good morning.
If she says, in brief, Doug, if she says, look, to be honest, we have to do this, what would you say?
I would say, yes, we've got to do it, but do it fairly. For example, one of the richest persons in this country, if not the richest, is the royal family. They don't pay tax.
Good point, Doug. Thank you. That's interesting. You go for the royal family first, and then people say, yes, do it. Thomas in Lancashire. Hello, Thomas.
Hello.
I know you've been waiting, my friend. What would you like to say?
Well, I'm a pensioner. I'm an ex-forces, so I've got 3 pensions.
3?
Yes, I have a private.
That's
when I was working. I've worked all my life.
Okay.
So I've got my forces pension, my army pension.
I see.
And a little private pension. Now, if she raises income tax, I will be paying tax on them again. Now, I've already paid tax on them.
Yep.
When I earned the money to put into them things.
Well, the tax would have been refunded when you put into your pension scheme, wouldn't it? That's the whole point of it. But you certainly would be paying tax on the way out, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, Yeah. So it's just going to hit the pensioners harder.
Do you know, one of the interesting things about this is that they're saying they could maybe put 2p on income tax and take 2p off national insurance so workers wouldn't see the difference. But the thing about that, and Thomas, you're absolutely right, it's the pensioners who'll see it.
Yeah.
And you'll find that you're almost being taxed on the state pension at that point, almost, within a hair's breadth of it.
Yeah, because to my mind, I've already paid the income tax on it.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, thank you, Thomas, so much. Andrew in Gloucestershire, could she do this? Could she say, look, we are in a corner and we need to save the country and I'm going to do this and you're not going to like it, but it's the last bad thing I'm going to do?
Yes.
Right.
The truth. Can someone just stand up and tell the truth? We're broke. We've sold all our assets. Someone to tell us what the real cost of net zero is, what it's costing to pay back COVID, and the true cost of our NHS.
Well, we know some of the numbers. We're in debt to the tune of about 3 trillion. It'll never be paid off in our lifetimes, and our kids will have to pay it off, and they'll wonder what we spent it on. And we can't just say COVID. We can say NHS and welfare and whatnot. But governments can't. Once you give someone money, you can't take it away. We saw this with the winter fuel allowance. It's politically impossible.
Yeah, but all businesses have to either raise prices or cut costs.
Yeah. So you would say she should raise taxes then?
What choice do we have?
Well, you cut spending.
Well, you cut spending.
Cut spending.
She's got to be.
Yeah, okay.
She's got to be able to control spending. I mean, for instance, we know the cost of housing.
The Labour Party cannot cut.
They can, Andrew. We know the cost of housing illegal immigrants is 15.4 billion. That's what's been costed. That should be. Is
it 15.4 billion?
54.4 billion over the decade. Okay.
Oh, over a decade, right.
Up to 2030.
Yeah, okay.
But what did the Conservatives spend before that? And at the end of the day, if I'm not mistaken, Shabana Mahmood has made it absolutely clear that that bill will be cut. And we have had the most deportations since we've come into power than we've seen for years. And finally, at the end of this Parliament, they've made it clear, we have made it clear as a Labour Party and as a Labour government that every hotel will be closed. We've been here 14 months.
It's small beer compared to the big thing, which is welfare, and the biggest part of welfare is the state pension, and the biggest part of the state pension is the triple lock. And I bet you're going to tell me you can't cut that.
Well, I don't think you can, politically.
Right, there we are.
Politically,
so you can't do it either.
No, but I'm saying that's politically. What I'm saying is financially, economically, fiscally, there's loads of areas of the spending that the British government get themselves into which can be cut and rowed back. You know, the 350 billion you're talking about also, only this week the debate has been, why are people signing on to PIPs at the rate of about 300 a day for anxiety? Can't somebody get a grip of that part of the welfare bill?
What do you think of that, Andrew? Stop people signing on for benefits for mental health. Andrew's gone. Clive in Wolverhampton, hi.
Hi, Jeremy.
What do you think, Clive? Is she within, given the problems of cutting, given that they haven't got the growth they promised, can she say, I'm sorry, everyone, it's time for an income tax rise?
Yes, she can. In fact, I used to vote Labour until this government got in because I thought they were too Tory, right?
Right.
This, in my opinion, is what they should have been doing right from the word go.
OK,
right?
so just a slight objection, Clive, is you've got to get elected to do stuff. And if they promised to raise taxes before the election, they would not have been elected.
Well, Labour should always be raising taxes because they were born on raised taxes. As you said, we got the welfare state in the first place by everybody, and I do mean everybody, paying tax. I mean, if you're on £100 a year or £100,000 a year, you pay tax.
Yeah. I understand that.
How high would we raise the taxes, Clive, if you don't mind me asking? You said Labour government should always raise taxes. That's what Gordon Brown thinks as well. But how high do you think you should raise them?
They shouldn't always raise taxes, but that it should keep pace with, like, inflation and wages as well.
So you put tax up by like 4% a year or something? I don't know. I don't know. Paulette,
ridiculous.
Paulette, haven't you got to get away? Labour has to get away from this thing the Tories always say: dogs bark, cats meow, and Labour raise taxes, and that hurts you.
They do have to get away from that. But we are in a unique situation, and I've got to keep saying it. I am not in government, so they may have another plan, and if they do, I will be the first clapping and be delighted. But from what I can see and what people are saying on the calls, we now are at a crossroads where everybody's telling us if we don't get our finances in order, we are going to be in trouble. So for me, as a Labour MP, I am not saying I know what they're going to do, but what I'm saying is, if I was in that position, which I'm not, we have to start looking at raising taxes.
Okay, well, income tax is the one that hits everyone.
Yeah.
But you will get into trouble with the pensioners, and you've already had a sort of brush with death dealing with them already. Clive in Wolverhampton, hello. Oh, we did, Clive. Sorry, Clive. Angela, thank you, Clive. Angela in London, hi. Hey, Angela.
Hello?
Hello.
How are you, all right?
All right, you sound chirpy today.
Yeah, I am a very chirpy. Oh, dear, what's going on, Jeremy?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
understand what's happening in this country.
Well,
You know, I live in Norbury. I'm 78 years old, and
Well
I
done.
live in a sheltered housing complex. The people are fuming with this government. We don't understand this woman. First of all, she upset the pensioners with a fuel payment, and now she wants to do this.
Well,
I
she's
just don't
got
understand
to.
it.
The thing is, Angela, she's trying to spend a lot of money on things, and she hasn't got the money coming in. And the Thatcher way of doing it was to weirdly cut taxes in the hope that people would start working harder because they kept more of their own money. Her way of doing it, and I'm not saying which is right, is to say we raise taxes so that we get more money in.
But she hasn't actually said that
No,
yet.
but that's the approach, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
exactly.
we don't know. She hasn't said that
Well, she's
yet.
not mentioned cutting taxes.
I know in my area, I have been part of those that have got the £2 million a year in a little area of my constituency, which I am not going to lie, I have not received a penny over the last 14 years. And this will really help some of the most deprived
money.
in my
Right.
constituency.
Okay.
So we are
That's
starting
good.
to see the benefits come through.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And we need
Angela,
to be
what do you think?
positive.
What does she need to do? We're trying to be understanding here of her situation. She's not caused it all on her own.
Well, I don't think I'm that much up on the situation to be able to answer that question correctly.
Sure, no, I understand.
But people are fuming with just the Labour Party in general. I mean, I'm on, Facebook, and some of the language that's coming onto the messages of their opinions of Keir Starmer.
Can you say without swearing? Can you say what they're saying?
Well, they're using the CUNT word a lot.
No, without swearing. Okay, all right. But there's anger among what, your friends or what?
Pardon, could you repeat that?
Say again.
Could you say what you were saying?
You're saying there's anger among your friends.
No, well, there's anger among the people in the home where I live.
Yeah, but I don't know what she's run out of money, Angela. What does she do? She's got to, as they say, you've got to pick a pocket or two.
Don't we, Jeremy? We create money. You know, what I'm saying to you is, I'll be very brief because I know you've got a lot of people. This is a Christian country, and it's a shame that all of the situations of the faith have sort of dwindled off. I'm not knocking anybody else's faith. I love the Muslims and the Hindus, and this is a great community where I live and all through the nation.
Yeah. Is it migrants as well? Are you driving at that?
Well, I don't really know. You know, you're up on it more than I am, but I don't want to waste your time.
Don't worry, Angela. You've done a great job. Thank you.